invention with its own brain.
Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the times high-tech products encountered a fatal error.
And I could write a comment too. I could just say, cool photos. And I don't know how to spell.
Number 30, Apple Newton. The Apple Newton, launched in 1993, was ahead of its time as one of the very first PDAs, or personal digital assistants.
The idea behind Newton is that it's an assistant, something that actively helps you as you capture, organize, and communicate your ideas and information.
The device was a trailblazer in its category, being the first to include handwriting recognition. Unfortunately, the feature was buggy, which combined with Newton's price and hefty size meant it didn't meet Apple's high standards.
Newton is as powerful as a computer. Newton is as simple as a piece of paper.
Ultimately, the device was discontinued, with CEO Steve Jobs pulling the plug in 1998. Despite the product's failure, it's still interesting to look back on a device that in many ways was a predecessor to the mobile iDevices of today.
I'd say that Newton is really peace of mind, right in the palm of your hand.
Number 29, IBM PC Junior. In 1984, IBM sought to expand further into the home computer market with the IBM PC Junior. The PC was intended to perform well with video games and compete with the Commodore 64 and Apple II PCs.
PC Junior from IBM, the computer that's growing by leaps and bounds.
However, IBM ceased production of the hardware in March 1985, failing due to its expensive price, in addition to lackluster compatibility and performance with software. Not to mention its fiddly chiclet keyboard, which IBM even acknowledged by replacing it with a superior model for free.
There are picture instructions to help you get started, and special overlays to help you find the right keys.
The home market didn't expand to the degree IBM and many observers thought it would. IBM CEO John Akers explained,
You can run over 1,000 programs with PC Junior.
Number 28, Google Wave. Google Wave, known in later stages as Apache Wave, was a web app platform combining features like email, direct messaging, wikis, and social networks.
Google Wave is a new web application designed to help you get stuff done with groups of people.
It was criticized for doing too much at once, and for good reason. One of its most bizarre features was real-time typing, meaning that every keystroke you made was broadcast to others. Better hope you don't make any typos.
If they're also online, they can start editing and replying in the Wave, and you will see their typing live.
After its public release in 2010, Google would soon announce that development was being passed to the Apache Software Foundation, with previously hosted content being deleted. Under Apache, the platform never achieved a full release before it was discontinued in 2018.
So take some time to get to know Google Wave and find out how it can make you and your groups more productive.
Number 27, Nextcube. While it was lauded at the time as innovative, featuring an optical drive, DSP, and an object-oriented program environment, the Nextcube was not a major commercial success. The high-end workstation failed to compete with the sales of its competitors, such as the Apple II.
The biggest innovation in the machine is a 1-foot square that Jobs calls comparable to a big mainframe.
Unfortunately, demand was low outside of higher education, financial institutions, and government agencies. The computer's high price tag did not help matters either. However, it does have quite the legacy.
There are some distinct things missing from it, like for instance color and specific application software.
What we now know as the World Wide Web was first conceived by Tim Berners-Lee on a Nextcube in 1990. Number 26, iTunes Ping.
With Ping, following your favorite artists and their music has never been easier.
In 2010, Apple tried to merge the worlds of music and social media. A rare blunder for the incredibly popular tech company, Ping failed to gain traction because of its lack of features and integration. On the platform, users could follow their favorite artists as well as what their friends were purchasing or reviewing, and what concerts they were going to.
When they accept, you'll be able to follow and comment on each other's iTunes music purchases.
Ultimately, the service didn't really serve much purpose if you had literally any other social media platform. So it made sense when Apple replaced it with Twitter and Facebook integration in 2012.
And it's that simple. It's a social network all about music. Make sense?
Number 25, BlackBerry.
New BlackBerry, huh?
Yeah.
Me too.
BlackBerry was once a smartphone behemoth and was particularly popular with business professionals. Unfortunately, the phone, defined by an iconic keyboard, could not compete in a world that became too fascinated with touchscreens. Other issues, such as a lack of available apps, also contributed to its decline.
BlackBerry's death rattle came in June 2010 with the release of the iPhone 4.
They They eventually gave in and put the Android operating system on BlackBerry devices, but by then it was past the point of no return, and the phones have now exited the market.
And despite their downfall, these iconic phones will always be bricks in the foundation of smartphone history.
Number 24, Microsoft Bob. Microsoft unleashed Bob on the public in 1995, an attempt by the company to create a more user-friendly experience for the Windows operating system. The software had a layout that was criticized for being simple to the point of being condescending. The user interface was displayed in the form of a house with rooms that could be entered, as well as cartoon characters who provided tips, much like Microsoft Word's iconic Clippy.
And the assistant will then go and search the entire library of help topics inside of Office to provide a series of options back to that user.
After pushing it hard, Microsoft still only managed to sell 58,000 copies of Bob, far less than the millions they had predicted. They gave up and discontinued Bob in 1996. Rest in peace, Bob.
Hey, Carol the cat, don't do that.
Number 23, Virtual Boy. Long before the release of the Nintendo 3DS, the gaming giant initially tried to bring 3D gaming to the public with the Virtual Boy.
Virtual Boy. See it now in 3D.
It was an innovative console that was basically Nintendo experimenting with virtual reality all the way back in 1995. Sadly, it was not comfortable to use, and its variety of games was limited, with only 22 being released in the console's lifespan.
Wait till they get a load of me!
Its monochromatic red display also caused eye strain and headaches. Nintendo eventually had to face non-virtual reality and discontinued the Virtual Boy after only a year spent on the market.
Virtual Boy, a 3D game for a 3D world.
Number 22, Uber's self-driving cars.
In all, there are dozens of these sensors, 20 cameras, 7 lasers.
When you envision the future, driverless vehicles are certainly a staple image of a high-tech society. While progress on this technology has made significant strides, there have also been some major missteps.
I've done literally nothing. I'm just sort of sitting here enjoying the ride.
The rideshare app and transportation company Uber began experimenting with self-driving cars in 2015, but their trials came to a halt when one of their test vehicles was involved in a fatal crash. The accident, which occurred in 2018, was a result of negligence on the part of the safety driver, who had been looking at their phone as opposed to monitoring the road. Notably, this was the first ever incident of this kind involving a self-driving car. Uber has since sold their arsenal of autonomous tech to Aurora, ceasing their efforts.
So this is the future.
The future is here.
Number 21, HP Touchpad. The HP Touchpad entered the tablet arena in 2011 to face off against Apple's iPad.
It has a number of features that are designed to bring all your data together.
But with its lack of apps and lackluster performance, it was a totally unfair matchup. In fact, the bout was a shockingly short one, with HP pulling the device from shelves after just 49 days, making for one of the fastest product deaths the tech world has ever seen.
HP's touchpad sales struggled so much out of the gate that it almost immediately cut the tablet's price by $100.
To be fair, not even Google has been able to compete with Apple in the tablet space, so HP never stood a chance. Maybe one day a genuine challenger to the iPad will rise, but we wouldn't count on it anytime soon.
And we'll have a real good time.
Number 20, Juicero. When it launched back in 2016, the Juicero press promised to deliver, quote, the best juice ever.
Shut the door of the press. You will hear a lock after you close it.
Well, at least for anyone who could afford the $699 price tag. Yeah, you heard that right. $700 for a juicer. Then again, it was Wi-Fi connected. Yay. Investors, including Alphabet Inc., sank $120 million into the company. But slow sales led Juicero to reduce prices to $399, which is actually still really expensive. Then, in April 2017, a Bloomberg story revealed a surprising discovery. You could just squeeze the juice packs into a glass, without paying $400 to have a machine do it. Humans are lazy, but not that lazy, and Juicero shut down later the same year. Number 19, Samsung Galaxy Fold. In 2019, foldable phones were supposed to revolutionize mobile devices. And maybe they still will, but the initial launch of the Samsung Galaxy Fold did not help argue the case.
Artfully encased in its refined, durable body, Fold's spine articulates with the strength and precision of luxury timepieces.
After the phone was unveiled in February 2019, people couldn't wait to get their hands on it. The first reviews were decidedly mixed, however. While praising the performance, reviewers criticized the device's overall fragility, in particular the plastic-coated screen and gaps that let in dust and water. CNET went so far as to describe the inside as, quote, toy-like. Not really what you want from a phone that cost $1,980. Pre-orders were canceled and refunded, and Samsung has since made improvements, but don't expect the Galaxy Fold to, quote, reshape the future. Number 18. Juju.
I mean, it looks cool.
Even before this tablet's launch in 2010, developer Fusion Garage was under a cloud of negative press. The device was originally the brainchild of TechCrunch founder Michael Arrington, who called it the Crunchpad. But Fusion Garage decided to just cut him out of the deal, leading to a massive lawsuit. When Fusion Garage released the tablet anyway, the Juju was universally panned for its criminal lag, 5-hour battery life, and uncreative interface. Further criticized was its failure in portability, thanks to unwieldy dimension specs.
Its elongated form isn't great for portability either, and as far as tablets go, the Juju is pretty big.
As a result of poor sales and litigation, the Juju ultimately gave Fusion Garage their own short battery life when the company filed for bankruptcy a few years later. Number 17. Sinclair C5.
The Sinclair C5, £399.
Marketed as a one-person, quote, electrically assisted pedal cycle, this now retro-looking tricycle takes the shape of a pod straight out of an 80s film's vision of the future.
A safe, reliable, pollution-free electric vehicle which can be driven on the road by anyone.
Designed with portability and space-friendliness in mind, the Sinclair C5 was advertised as an alternative to cars and bikes.
That needs no license, no road tax, and you can drive whether you're 14 or 40.
However, in the end, the C5 was impractical for consumers due to its low speed range, shoddy weather endurance, and awkward control scheme. This led to poor reviews and even poorer sales, and finally a cease in production less than 7 months after its launch. It then notoriously became known as, quote, one of the great marketing bombs of post-war British industry. Ouch.
For wet weather, there are side panels in a range of colors, and a designer-styled weather cheater to keep you warm and dry.
Number 16. Palm Folio.
This is the beginning of a product family for us, and we can see it going in many directions.
Designed to be what would have been the market's first netbook device, Palm's simple, slick, and ultra-convenient laptop was a complete failure at launch. Announced in 2007, this Linux-based sub-notebook was built to serve as a companion for Palm Trio users, featuring the same email, organizer, and web browsing software the phones were noted for.
What we want to do is bring that large screen and full keyboard to the data that's on your smartphone.
A little over 3 months after its announcement, the Folio ceased further development following a multitude of negative reviews from critics and a drastic decline in the company's revenue in the face of the smartphone wars.
When we started this company in 1992, it was based on a very simple vision, that the future of personal computing would be mobile.
Meanwhile, in 2009, the Trio was replaced by the Palm Pre, which, despite initial promising sales, eventually led to Palm's acquisition by HP.
In the future, people can have these very powerful portable computers in their pocket.
Number 15. Orchit.
Now you can share almost any page with a single click using the Share on Orchit bookmarklet.
Named after its developer, this social networking site was founded on the same premise as every other one in existence: to stay in touch with family and friends. At one point, one of the most visited websites in America, Orchit appeared to be well on its way to replacing MySpace, which in the mid-2000s was a very big statement. However, as controversy began to stir around the site for its concerns with privacy, fake profiles, and hate group pages, the site dwindled in popularity, seeing a massive drop in active US users. This would lead the site to lose the battle with, well, every other social media platform, and eventually Orchit was totally shut down in 2014.
If you've never heard of Orchit, you're probably not alone. While the site did garner some success, the Economic Times reports a majority of the users were from Brazil and India.
Number 14. The Apple Pippen.
Apple is betting that the TV will be the preferred viewing device with a new approach to home computing called Pippen.
When you think of classic 90s gaming, Apple doesn't exactly spring to mind. The Pippen technology platform was licensed to Bondi Company Limited, which advertised its Bondi Pippen model as a gaming console. However, they sold less than 50,000 units, so it isn't that surprising. Depending on your point of view, the system was either an overpriced console or a cheap computer. Stateside, the system offered just 18 titles, but it did offer players the opportunity to connect to the internet, or as it was known at the time, the net. Unfortunately, very few people had an internet connection up to the demands of online gaming, making the Pippen a pretty useless purchase and underwhelming experience. Number 13. Betamax, also known as Beta.
Oh, what is that? This is the Sony Betamax.
Long before the DVD slayed Laserdisc and Blu-ray crushed HD DVD, there was the first home video format war, Betamax versus VHS.
You just select the channel you want, and with Trinitron, you get the best picture possible.
Introduced in the US 6 months after its release in Japan, Betamax involved a 6-inch wide video cassette that was much smaller and lighter than its VHS counterpart. Initially, it drew attention with the console's home recording capabilities.
With the Sony Betamax and the portable Sony videotape camera, you can do just that. You can record what you want when you want, and watch what you want when you want.
Still, despite Betamax's superior image quality and smoother console engineering, it was ultimately VHS that was crowned the victor by consumers, mainly for its superior playing speeds and longer running times.
It's the best family entertainment on television.
One more shot, Ma. Come on, smile.
Number 12. Google+.
You know, like in your head, you assign everyone these roles, and like you think, you know, like these are the people that matter and these don't, and then like once you like step back and get away from that, you realize, oh, these are the people that were actually there for me.
As the company's fourth attempt into social networking, Google+ was founded with a slightly different take on keeping in touch by allowing users to group friends, photos, and communities into circles. That said, it was basically Google Wave with a new name, new interface, and removed features in place of less than innovative new ones. In 2018, a massive security breach exposed private data from over 500,000 accounts on their website, leading Google to begin a multi-phase shutdown process. All applications connected to Google+ were replaced by a new Google product called Currents, which in turn were later replaced by Spaces. Number 11. The Apple III.
Apple, the personal computer.
Complete failures are quite rare, but Apple found a way to do the improbable. Replacing the Apple II, the Apple III was meant to push the company into the business sector. Instead, this faulty device led to near financial ruin. Partially due to Steve Jobs' inflexible demands and instructions to not include a cooling fan, this device suffered from overheating and would break down after a couple of hours of use. This was particularly problematic since it was targeted towards businesses rather than hobbyists and enthusiasts. Software for the Apple III was also scarce, and the computer got dismissal reviews right out of the gate. Number 10. Amazon's Firephone.
With, the flick of your wrist, you can get an additional menu.
Following the astonishing success of their Kindle Fire ebook readers and Fire tablets, Amazon looked to further expand their Android-based Fire OS family by setting its eyes on the cell phone market. Announced as an AT&T exclusive in mid-2014, Amazon's take on the smartphone came with several neat innovations, including the dynamic perspective feature for apps and games, and Firefly, a text, sound, image, and object recognition tool.
It's almost like the world is a hyperlink.
Nevertheless, the Firephone was met with underwhelming reception in sales.
Oh yeah, new Amazon Firephone. It comes with Amazon Prime. Tons of cool stuff for no extra charge.
Really? Thus, it was quickly dropped by retailers and even pulled off of Amazon's own store the following year. Not so hot for a device with fire in its name.
Firephone, the first smartphone designed by Amazon.
Number 9. Demar Broadcasting Acquisition. Never even heard of this company? You're not alone. Anticipated by Google to grow from its $102 million purchase price, Demar was supposed to be the brand that would finally get Google's stagnating radio advertising initiative to spread like wildfire.
What helps me get up in the morning is the radio.
However, wary of Google's dominance in online advertising, marketers and radio companies were reluctant to work with the company, so the unit floundered. Despite being one of the more promising startups, Google's woeful integration made Demar fizzle, even though remnants of it were eventually integrated with Google's AdSense program.
Log into your account today, create your first ad, and see what AdSense can do for you.
Number 8. The Backfiring clone licensing.
It's a whole new world for Apple these days. Mac clones, a new OS on the horizon, fierce competition.
With Microsoft dominating the PC market by licensing out their operating system, Apple tried to close the gap by doing the same thing with their Macintosh. The idea was to provide a cheaper means for consumers to get used to Apple's system, but the clones were often more advanced than the Macintosh computers. Unlike Microsoft, who were mainly into software, Apple's decision just resulted in an oversaturated market that threatened to leave them in the dust. With Motorola preparing to launch their Mac-based G3-powered StarMax 6000, Apple opted to stop the licensing program to save themselves.
I went to the clone vendors and I said, guys, we're gonna go broke.
Number 7. Philips CDI.
You'd probably feel pretty dumb and maybe even fake it like you'd already experienced the ultimate in games, movies, music, and more.
As mentioned earlier on this list, the Apple Pippen.
All right, and a Pippen CD will run on a Mac or run under Windows?
That's right, we'll certainly run on a Mac.
And Nintendo's Virtual Boy were both dreadful attempts at a new console.
Virtual Boy, see it now in 3D.
However, the biggest out-of-character product fail is none other than Philips with their Compact Disc Interactive.
Insert disc and close.
Has anyone even heard of this? Panned for its graphics, game titles, and controls at the time, it has been consistently ranked as one of the worst gaming systems ever to be put on the market.
This is CDI, Compact Disc Interactive.
Intended to compete with 4th-gen giants like Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo, the CDI was ultimately a commercial failure that cost Philips to lose over $1 billion.
I get it. This is cool. All right, so try serving.
Number 6. Blockbuster Total Access.
Hey, I don't have to wait.
Created in response to the then rising media empire that is Netflix, Blockbuster Total Access was built with convenience in mind.
What if you're thinking, let's watch another movie right away? With Netflix, you mail them back and wait.
Carbon copying Netflix's DVD by mail strategy, Total Access also permitted subscribers to return their rentals to a brick-and-mortar location in exchange for new titles in or out of their queue.
Say hello to Blockbuster. They deliver movies right to your mailbox, too.
However, despite surpassing its subscriber quota, the program quickly failed because most independently owned Blockbuster franchises declined to honor the service.
You're just a mouse click away from a better way to rent movies.
One major franchise even took the company to court, alleging that Total Access breached contract terms. Throw in a patent infringement lawsuit from Netflix, and you've got quite the product fail drama worthy of a film adaptation.
Netflix was basically, get what you want when you want it, and knew that they would move away from the DVD business to the download video business.
Number 5. Apple Maps.
Beautiful, beautiful maps.
To compete with Google Maps, Apple released their own version in 2012. While things eventually improved, Apple Maps got off to such a rocky start that the company's CEO publicly apologized. The application's biggest issues included misspelled place names, an inability to differentiate from cities that shared names, out-of-date information about stores and places of interest, and completely wrong locations and directions. Pretty damning problems for a map app. Famously, the app left several users stranded in a hot Australian park 40 miles from their intended destination, while Ireland's Ministry of Defence had to warn consumers that a non-existent airport was showing up near Dublin. Apple would eventually fix over 2 million errors in the app. So, yeah, huge fail.
Don't tell me this is Zune bad.
I'm sorry, Gavin. It's Apple Maps bad.
Number 4. The Zune.
So you can actually share your files with other Zuners. Zuners, is that a word? I'm not really sure.
Even the world's largest computer company isn't safe from the occasional ouchie. What with its track record of flops that includes the Spot Watch and the Kin.
Kin, a Windows phone born to manage your social life, living only on Verizon.
But who can forget the Zune? Despite impressive reviews from critics and users, Zune's entrance into commerce came at a time when its primary competitor, guess which one, had already established a borderline monopolized foothold in the market.
It's so thin, it's so sleek, it's so lightweight, and it's perfect for you on the go.
This, coupled with inferior marketing strategies, mediocre software support, and a lack of innovation, sent the Zune straight to Flopsville, with the devices pulled from production in 2012 and the remaining services retired in 2015. Number 3. Google Glass.
Tap the touchpad to wake up Glass.
So far, we've covered tablets, laptops, and gaming consoles, but who would have ever thought that eyewear would find its way onto this list, and from Google no less?
Whatever happened to Google Glass?
It's still out there, but you know what? Sales of Glass stop at the end of this month.
Though certainly an innovative and dandy device, the Google Glass prototype was ultimately a failure for its not-so-wallet-friendly price tag. lack of special features, and the legislative actions it sparked due to privacy and safety concerns.
Hey man, you almost here?
I have no idea.
Dude, what happened to your face?
I ran into a couple walls.
Moreover, the product failed to impress most users, with many calling the device more of an intricate eyesore than a convenience.
The display should be above your line of sight. Yep, just like that.
Google announced they'd cease production of the prototype in early 2015. And though the company plans on continuing to develop it, Google Glass is one of the fastest product flops ever to be released, tech or otherwise. Number 2. Samsung Galaxy Note 7.
This is a phone that becomes part of who you are.
Soon after its much-hyped release in August 2016, this phone was on fire, but not in a good way. Before launch, there was huge buzz around the Galaxy Note 7, with glowing reviews and record-setting pre-orders. Then the phone started exploding.
The last thought in my head is that a brand new device is going to burn down my car or my house.
A manufacturing defect caused the batteries to overheat and burst into flames. As reports spread, Samsung was forced to order a recall in September. Talk about bad PR. But wait, it gets worse. Samsung replaced the phones, only for the replacements to also catch fire. In October, they ceased all production of the Galaxy Note 7. The whole fiasco cost them billions of dollars and left their reputation in crispy tatters. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Theranos Edison machines. How do you fool investors out of $700 million? Apparently, just talk in a really deep voice and promise them a miracle.
We've designed it to allow for the same operations that a technologist could do in a laboratory.
Elizabeth Holmes was 19 when she founded Theranos in 2003. She told investors that her Edison machines could perform blood tests quickly and cheaply with only microscopic amounts of blood. You know the saying, good, fast, cheap, choose two? Holmes claimed that her Edison devices did all three. There was no peer-reviewed evidence that they worked, yet she became a media darling, and Theranos was valued at $10 billion. Well, guess what? The emperor was not wearing any clothes.
At the highest level, we didn't have the right leadership in the laboratory.
The Edison machines didn't work. Theranos was making up their profits, and in 2015, a whistleblower brought the whole thing crashing down. Are there any other critical errors of the tech world that we missed? Let us know in the comments. Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.